The human held their head high, listening for the exact location of a group of adventurers that were currently in combat with the city guards. As soon as they knew where their location was, they turned into pure light and fly at high speeds toward the group, arriving and turning back into their normal form, readying a spell to stop the fight. The Dragonborn held up their hand and began to cast an anti-magic field as the mages were approaching them. However, upon casting, they kneel over and the spell took hold, but the Dragonborn becomes much more demonic as their soul now gets burned away and destroyed. A wiry gnome was seen meditating in the middle of a city square. While a strange sight at first, after a few minutes, energy seems to re enter them and their soul regains some of its expended power. He then gets up and walks off as if nothing had happened. Weavers are some of the most unique spellcasters, as they would expend their own soul instead of using spell slots for casting each spell. Weavers are very high risk taking casters, and in lore, several who have gone over the brink of their soul have turned themselves into a soulless version of themselves or into a demon called a Kamala. You may recognize the Kamala name from the lineages we went over a few videos ago. Weavers don't have spell slots. Instead, they get what is called soul casting, in which they have soul points. Their soul points don't recover over long rest, and instead they recover them after spending time by meditating. However, if weavers were to use up all of their soul points, then they risk turning themselves into the soulless subclass or into the Kamala lineage. Both information. We have the lineage previously in the book, and the soulless is a subclass in the Weaver subclasses, which we will briefly go over, saving that for actual book content. But you can make a Weaver quickly by following these suggestions. First, you want Constitution to be your highest stat. Then, you're going to want to follow this up with your Intelligence or your Wisdom. You're going to want to be the Acolyte or the Sage background. The Weavers use a d6 for their hit dice, and they get no armor proficiencies. They are proficient in simple weapons and short swords, no tool proficiencies, and they're proficient in Constitution and Intelligence saving throws, and they can choose any 3 skills. Now, Weavers start with a flintlock pistol with 20 rounds, or a short bow with 20 arrows, a short sword or any simple weapon, and then a spell casting focus. So let's go ahead and get into this. Level 1, Weavers get soul casting and soul recharge. This feature is going to take a minute, so bear with me. For soul casting, starting at first level, you have access to an interesting form of magic that uses your soul, and this is your only way to cast magic. Once you use up all your spells available, you have to make a con saving throw or suffer the consequences. The options for what may happen are at the end of the class description. You don't use spell slots, you instead have things known as soul points. You have an amount of soul points equal to your Constitution score. When casting a spell, you use up an amount of soul points equal to the spell's level you cast it at. If you ever hit 0 soul points, roll on the chart below to see what happens to you. However, you do not recharge any soul points on a long rest. The chart below is there are 6 options. So you roll a d6. On a 1, you gain 2 points of exhaustion. On a 2, you fall unconscious for 8 hours. This can be ended by a lesser or greater restoration. On a 3, your hit points instantly hit 0. On a 4, you change your subclass to the Soulless subclass. On a 5, you fall catatonic for 1d12 days. This effect can be ended early if someone casts Greater Restoration on you. And then number 6, you change your race to the Kamala lineage. Now, that doesn't seem like too bad compared to the falling catatonic for up to 12 days. But remember, the Kamala lineage, you have a DC 15 wisdom save you make every morning, and if you fail that, the DM takes control, and essentially you just become a monster. So, spells level of first or higher, you know any amount of first level spells of your choice from the Weaver spell list. The spell level known column of the Weaver table shows when you learn a higher level spell of Weaver spells of your choice. Each of these spells must be of a level for which you have spell slots. as shown on the table. For instance, when you reach 3rd level in this class, you can learn one new spell of 1st or 2nd level. Constitution is your spellcasting ability for your Weaver spells. Your magic comes from your soul, and each soul point you have expended burns a little bit of your soul. You use your Constitution whenever a spell refers to your spellcasting ability. In addition, you use your Constitution modifier when setting the saving throw DC of a Weaver spell you cast and when making an attack roll with one. Yes, this is the only caster that does not use an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma score for your spells. You use Constitution instead. So yeah, your spell save DC is 8 plus your proficiency plus your Constitution modifier. Your spell attack modifier is your proficiency plus your Constitution modifier. Make sense? Next is Soul Recharge, and this is how you're going to regain your soul points. Starting at 1st level, by spending 10 minutes of meditation without sleeping, you can recharge 1 soul point. By spending 1 hour straight, you recharge 10 soul points. Instead of the 6 you would have gotten over this time. Once you've used this feature an amount of times equal to your proficiency bonus, you can't use it again until after a long rest. However, you can also regain soul points by spending time gaining good emotional experiences, such as bonding with a party, having a good meal, or other events that the DM allows you to gain soul points back in. The number of soul points you regain is determined by your DM. Good vibes and meditations, that's how you regain back energy to your soul. So, on to level 2, you get Weave points and Infuse spells. Starting at 2nd level, you have an amount of Weave points equal to your Weaver level. You gain the ability to twist your spells as you're casting them. You gain 2 of the following options. And you gain another one at 10th level and another one at 17th level. You gain all spent Weave points after finishing a long rest. You can only use 1 Weave point option on a spell unless otherwise stated. So this is just like Sorcerer's meta magic, but they have their own unique options. So let's go ahead and go through their options. They get Adamant Spell, which is when you cast a spell, you can spend Weave points equal to 1 plus the level of the spell to make it immune to anti-magic spells like Counterspell, Dispel Magic, or Anti-Magic Field. And there's Brutal Spell. When you cast a spell that deals damage, you can spend 2 Weave points to empower the casting. If you roll the highest number on any of the spell's damage dice, you can roll that die again and add it to the total damage. However, if you roll the lowest number on any of the spell's damage dice, you remove that die and its damage from the total damage of the spell. Then there's Distance Spell. We know how that works with Sorcerer. Empowered Spell. We know how that works. Esoteric Spell. When you cast a spell that deals Force, Necrotic, Psychic, or Radiant damage, you can spend 1 sorcery point to change the damage type of the spell to another of the ones above. Then there is Potent Spell. When you cast a spell that deals damage, you can spend 1 sorcery point to have the spell ignore a single target's resistance to damage of that spell. Then there's Soul Boost. You can spend 1 Weave point to reduce the cost of the spell you're casting by 1 soul point. Then there is Transmute Spell, which is the same as Esoteric, but with Fire, Cold, Acid, Lightning, Poison, and Thunder damage. Twin Spell, we know how that works. And the last one is Weaver Sight. When casting an illusion spell, you can spend 1 Weave point to allow you to see through other illusions for the duration of the spell you cast. Then the other feature at level 2 is Infuse Spell. Starting at 2nd level, you can infuse an amount of soul points equal to the spell of your choice into an object. This object will hold the spell onto the spell for 24 hours, allowing you to cast it at any time during those 24 hours without the use of soul points when you cast it through the object. You can also set a prerequisite for this to have this spell auto-cast. You can then use this ability once and you regain that use after a long rest. So, onto level 3 is Nuclear Fallout and Split Weave. Starting at 3rd level with Nuclear Fallout, you gain a resistance to necrotic and radiant damage, and when you're in a barren wasteland, you have advantage on survival checks, perception checks, and on stealth checks. Then we have Split Weave, which is your subclass options. I don't have the list here, but the subclass options are Protector, Hunter, Forge Master, Soulless, a Mota Weaver, and I don't remember the last one, but it's something like that. It's something that fits alongside of those ones. Yet again, we're not really going to get too much. We're not going to get into those. Those are to be saved. At level 4, you get an ASI. At level 5, you get nothing. But also note this is when you get 3rd level spells, because a Weaver is considered a full caster in terms of their spell progression. So you get 3rd level spells at 5th level. At 6th level, you get expertise and a split weave feature. At 6th level, you choose 2 of your skill proficiencies. Your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check you make that uses either of those chosen proficiencies. And then split weave feature, you got subclass feature. 7th level is Gifts of the Weave. Starting at 7th level, you gain access to one of these 3 options. Once you choose this, you cannot change it. You can choose from Book of the Otherworld, which gives you access to every spell from every class, so long as you have the spell level required to cast that spell. Since at 7th, anything at 4th level and below, you can take them into your spell list. Next is Sword of the Angel King. You gain access to a sword that can take any shape you wish. Works similarly to the Pact of the Blade from Warlock. This sword is magical in terms of overcoming resistances and immunities. This is currently at a +1, becomes a +2 at level 12, and a +3 at level 17. And the final option for the Gifts of the Weave is the Weaver's Prime Soul. An upgrade to your soul that gives you 5 more soul points to your soul point maximum. At 12th level, you gain another additional 5, and at 17th, you gain another additional 5. So by 17th level, you have 15 additional soul points on top of whatever your constitution score is. Okay, we're about to have a big jump here with not a lot going on. 8th level, ASI. 9th level is nothing. Level 10 is split weave feature. 11 is nothing. 12 is another ability score improvement. 13 is nothing. 14 is improved reaction time. Starting at 14th level, you have advantage on dexterity saving throws, and you can't be surprised. You also gain a +5 to your initiative rolls. Then at 15th level, you get split weave feature. 16th is another ASI. 17 is nothing. 18 is nothing. 19 is your last ASI. Then at 20th level, you get endless weave and split weave feature. Now for Endless Weave, starting at 20th level, when you run out of soul points and risk turning yourself into a Kamala or Soulless, you can instead draw a few spells from the Weave. Not much, but you get an amount of soul points equal to your Constitution modifier. You can use this ability once and regain that use after a long rest. So essentially, when you cast a spell that would set you down to 0, instead of rolling on the chart, you instantly get a number of points equal to your Constitution modifier. So if it's a 20, you get 5 more soul points. So you don't take that risk, but then you have to wait for a long rest before you can use that feature again. So that was the Weaver. Very, very interesting class. It was a lot of fun. This class was a lot of fun to design with my friend. He was the one who created this class or created the idea of this class in our D&D campaign we were playing in. And he told me about it, and I was like, do you want me to see if I can make this work into a full class? Which, obviously, here it is now. With the whole core feature of risking your soul in order to cast magic, because the campaign we were playing in was a magic-starved world setting, and it was pretty fun. But that is going to be it for the Weaver. Our next video is going to be on the Witch, the final class in the book. The magical charm-making half-caster support of sorts. But with that, we're going to go ahead and see you next time.